This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Hello, welcome to this latest edition of Red Side of the Trent, here to discuss all the latest news and happenings and have a bit of a nerd chat with my friend Mason Coy. Mason, how are we? Donning the new home shirt. It looks absolutely lovely on you.
It's gorgeous, isn't it, mate? I love it. I think it's my favourite. I think I said this last time I was on, to be fair. I love it. Yeah, it's class. But yeah, I'm good, thank you, mate. But if you see me checking my shoulders like a midfielder, I've had 2 new kittens, so just beware. Shout man on if one comes behind me and I'll get him.
I will. So you're a collar down rather than a collar up like Callum Hudson?
Yeah, I don't think I've got the minerals for a collar up, mate. To be fair, I don't think he can have his collar up after them corners against Birmingham. He needs to take them right back down and do the button up as well.
And do the button up. Right, well, moving on from fashion. So a few things we're going to discuss today on today's show. We've got a potential tie with Fredrikstad if Palace win their appeal with Cass. Obviously, we want to look at the season ahead. Angus Gunn and Jackson Chatchua, or I'm going to call him Chat GPT if he does sign. Obviously, Douglas Luiz been linked heavily. How we could play in a bit of a European adventure, a bit of fun. So let's start at the top. Obviously, Fredrikstad have been drawn. Well, it's Fredrikstad or Midtjylland. We're already kind of presuming that Midtjylland will probably beat them in the playoff that they've got for, and we play the loser of that. That's because they're playing in the Europa League. Is it Champions League thing? I don't even know no more. Oh, it's Europa League, isn't it? It's Europa League going into the Conference League. Do beg your pardon. Thoughts on that tie if that happens, Mason? Or are you quite confident that Palace will lose that appeal and will still be in Europa League?
It changes day by day, mate, to be honest. It could be anything, couldn't it? The way they've left it and the way it's been dragging on, anything could happen. I'm fingers crossed hoping that we're in the Europa League and we don't have to worry about this. But as far as ties go, I think Midtjylland are obviously better than, is it Fredrikstad?
Yeah, Fredrikstad.
Yeah, Fredrikstad. Yeah, so Midtjylland are obviously the tougher opponent, so I do think they'll win. So if it's going to be the latter, then yeah, I fancy us. If that's the case, I do fancy us. I fancy us against any of them teams in that draw. So yeah, let's hope it doesn't come to that. But if it does, yeah, I'll be fairly confident, mate.
Yeah, I mean, if it is Fredrikstad, they're a Norwegian side, play on a synthetic pitch, 12,500 seat stadium. So it's like going to, I don't know, like League One, League Two kind of grounds, even some Premier League grounds, I guess, if you want to look at Bournemouth and Brentford. No offense to them, but they have got small stadiums. They're mid-table as well. Like I think they've won and drawn and they lost like pretty much similar numbers. So you'd fancy our chances in 2 legs over them, and it would be a first leg affair at the City Ground if that was to happen. I'm very much in the camp that if the right thing is to happen, we stay in the Europa League because of all the evidence. Personally, I know it sounds harsh. People like Palace fans are sick of people saying rules are rules, and then Marinakis and John Text are doing this whole kind of merry-go-round that they keep doing, this like love affair that's so open, it's unbelievable. But no one had sympathy for us with our points deduction. Everyone kept throwing that phrase at us, "Oh, rules are rules," and we accepted it and got on with it. And it ended up proving dividends for us last season, should I say, in getting into Europe in the first place. So that's how I see it, personally. But you know, what are you going to do? Do you know what I mean, Mason? Like there will be uproar if that gets overturned.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's too far gone. I think they've already kicked a few teams out for similar things. They can't then go back on the word just because Palace are a Premier League team. I can't. Yeah, I think I'm in the boat of they're gonna fail in their appeal, which is a bonus for us. We get some better ties. We get a bit more money. So I think that will be the case. Like I said, touched on my first sentence when you asked me the question. It's shocking that it's took this long, and it's shocking that we're not going to get the actual facts and of not going to know which tournament we're in until 5 days before our opening game is outrageous. It's really, really poor planning from UEFA, but it is what it is. It wouldn't be Forest without it, would it? So we've just got to take it on the chin, and hopefully, like you said, we fall the right side and end up in Europa.
Yeah, I want your reaction on a few other bits and bobs, actually. So, first of all, the Morgan Gibbs-White signing, new deal, and Marinakis interview, because it is topic. What's your thoughts on Morgan staying, first of all, in that scenario?
Obviously, I'm pleased. I'd have rather that I said it on this podcast, and I don't care if you crucify me again. I said it. I'd rather have Gibbs-White gone than Elanga, to be honest, just purely because of how we played. But we're going to have to clearly adopt a little bit of a different style this season. But that wasn't me wishing Morgan would go. I'm happy he stayed. He's obviously a great player. I'm in the camp of I expect more from him. And now he's on this new bumper deal. I'm not saying he should instantly be better, but pressure amps up for me. But yeah, I'm happy he stays. 100%. He's a vital cog in our system. A lot of play goes through him. But yeah, I'm really happy that as far as the interview goes, I don't really know what to say. Obviously, it's gone pretty viral on it, and we've had a bit of stick. Well, Marinakis has had a bit of stick, but I would much rather his approach than a Glazer's approach or whoever else, the other owners who have been in the spotlight and are in the spotlight. I'd much rather have Marinakis, mate, to be honest. But it was bizarre the way it happened, but like I said earlier, we are Forest, aren't we? We don't do stuff normally. We don't do stuff by the book. But yeah, I think, to be honest, I've seen all the Tottenham fans. I see it every day on X. Oh, Marinakis pinned him down. Gibbs-White's his own man at the end of the day. If he really did want to go, he would have gone. So I was firmly in the camp of when it all came out that I think me, you, and Danny did the podcast on the day, didn't we? And I said something's off. Something's not sitting right with me about the whole situation. And clearly, the way it's been handled and dealt with since then, there clearly was something off. Otherwise, Spurs would have kept pushing. So yeah, like I say, overall feeling is I'm happy. We've lost only one starter really on paper, which was the biggest thing for me. We didn't want to lose two starters, regardless of who they were. So we've kept Morgan. So we've replaced Elanga, obviously, with Doy, however we say it. That spun my head as well, mate. However you say that, I can't say it. But yeah, we've replaced well. Touch wood. So yeah, fingers crossed, mate. It's the right decision. But I do think we're just delaying the inevitable, which I don't mind. The ball's firmly in our court again with Gibbs-White. I do think he'll probably go next summer, potentially the summer after, but at least we're in control of the situation. Then it'll be for a big fee. It'll be with our blessing, and yeah, it won't be left with sour grapes because, like, seeing some fans online were giving him abuse already before they knew the full story. So yeah, it's one of them, mate. But overall, really happy.
Part of me thinks it was really agent driven, maybe, rather than Morgan, because I think he would have maybe kicked up more of a fuss rather than coming into training. And I know there was that whole thing, he came into training like white and blue and all that sort of stuff, and his missus was following loads of salons in London. I mean, she is like a bit of a kind of social media kind of content creator person, isn't she? So she's going to follow those types of places anyway. They go to London all the time. Like, that's just footballers and footballers' girlfriends and wives and all that sort of jazz. So it's no different for me. I mean, it's really bad timing for Tottenham because obviously James Maddison went down with a potential ACL injury the other day in a friendly. So, I mean, losing out on not getting Gibbs-White is kind of scuppered that for them. But that's football for you. That is football.
Can I just say, mate, quickly, with the fans on X, say fans, the people wishing, like, laughing at Maddison's injury, I don't rate that one bit. I'm not a fan of that. Like, I don't think us as fans, even as humans, should wish that on anyone. I know we've had a bit of banter with Spurs, but for me, obviously, like I say, I think you've done your ACL twice, haven't you? Obviously, I've played football my whole life, grew up with players who have done their ACLs. Like, I know this is probably people are going, oh, it's boring, but no, I don't rate that, because at the end of the day, Maddison's an England footballer, is a good lad by all accounts, a bit of a character. You don't want to see anyone get injured, especially not that badly anyway. But I'm all for bantering the Spurs fans and calling them every name under the sun. But I think when you're and you're laughing at other people getting injured. That's not the one, because I think if it was Gibbs-White who did his ACL, we'd be kicking off with them laughing and vice versa. So I don't rate that as a fan base. So
I 100% agree with you. I mean, let's talk about Alanga's replacement in Dan Doy. I mean, I spoke to David Jackson and I messaged him afterwards saying like, it's going to be quite funny listening to Colin Frey when they pass to each other, isn't it? Like for a winner at Liverpool this season, maybe. Comes in from Bologna, obviously 35 million euros with some add-ons, etc., like, or 40 million euros. I can't remember. I'm talking in pounds, I think, actually. But so it looks like he's going to be pretty handy. I mean, we spoke quite a bit about him and about his composure on the ball, didn't we? I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's all about. He looks like he's really happy to be coming here for the project as well.
Yeah, mate. To be honest, like Birmingham, I watched the full Birmingham game. It was a tough watch in terms of us watching us play. We were quite relatively poor, as typical pre-season game. But he showed glimpses, and the glimpses that he did show, I was like, oh yeah, I quite like what I'm seeing. Obviously, he'd probably only trained once with his teammates before, so you can't necessarily judge him. But first impressions, mate, I was really impressed. He seemed strong. Obviously, he showed glimpses of his pace. Like you said, technically, this isn't us putting down Elanga anyway, just because he's gone. We're not doing that. He seems probably better on the ball than Elanga. He seems more comfortable with the ball. Like we touched on previously, we could probably adapt a different kind of style with him. He had one little snapshot which went high and over. I think it potentially clipped the ball. They said on BBC Radio Nottingham, but I wasn't sure because, not going to lie, my stream wasn't the best. But yeah, he showed glimpses, mate. There was times he rolled his defender in the second half, won a free kick, and I think I read the other day that he won the most free kicks in Europe or something along them lines, or the top 5 leagues or something like that. So he clearly knows how to draw a foul, and I think that's something that, especially if we get a set piece taker in, which potentially looks like we could do, I'm sure we'll touch on later, then that's only a positive, mate. But yeah, first impressions, he really impressed me, like in the little glimpses that he did show.
I mean, I was literally about to say we're rubbish at free kicks. So what's use of him winning fouls if we're not going to deliver good balls into the box? But how are you feeling about the pre-season so far? There's obviously been a lot of talk that we've only scored 1 goal and we've let in a few and a lot of 0-0s. And someone who was like on the cusp of playing professional football, Mason, not to remind you of that kind of time. But do you know, when you're playing in these pre-seasons, you're not playing at 100%. You're probably not even playing at 80%, are you, in some of these, until maybe the last 1 or 2?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of looking at it as a Forest fan, I'm not concerned. I've never understood people who get concerned over pre-season. Like, it's glorified training sessions. Not even training sessions. It's glorified fitness sessions. It's getting your body used to the sharp turns. It's getting your body used to receiving the ball with a man up your backside. It's just little things like that. And Birmingham are 2 weeks ahead of us, 3 weeks ahead of us. Their season kicks off on Friday. Ours doesn't. Like, they're going to be fitter than us currently. Doesn't mean they're better than us. They're not. Let's be real. On paper, they're not. And footballer to footballer, we're better footballers. Pre-season never worried me, mate. Like, don't get me wrong, there was a bit of me was like, I'd love us to score more. Of course, I'd love us to score more goals. I'd love us to win every single game, even in pre-season. But we've got a new striker who's finding his feet, who's very impressive, to be fair, from what I've seen. We've got new players bedding in. We played with 4 centre halves, for crying out loud. Like, people can't be worried. They can't be. And I mean, if we win against Fiorentina and the Saudi team, we've won the same amount of games as we did last pre-season. That didn't stop us doing very well, did it? Like, it's one of them pre-seasons. There's a lot goes off in pre-season, put it that way. And one thing I think fans necessarily, the normal fan who's never necessarily played football before doesn't understand is these players will be going into these games at 30-40%. They'll be knackered going into these games. That's the whole point of pre-season. They'll probably be doing double, triple sessions before, 2, 3, 4 days before the game. Whereas in the season, they'll probably only do an hour and a bit of shape on a Friday, and then they'll be off home chilling with their feet up. So they're going into these games tired. They're not coming into it like a game in the season where they're fresh and they're ready, rearing to go. They haven't got the adrenaline pumping. That's something that I think we struggle as fans to see as well. It's hard. We've seen it with Murillo. Murillo's a different player in pre-season. He is like Anderson's complete opposite end of the spectrum. He plays football. You can imagine him playing like that with his family in the back garden. You can imagine him playing exactly the same. But like Murillo, you can see he struggles to get up for it. Like last season, there were shouts of, "Oh, we should have sold him. Look how poor he is now." And then first game, he was back being Beckenbauer again. Like it's one of them. Yeah, there's never much to read into pre-season. Don't get me wrong. These next 2 games, we'd like to see a bit more patterns of play, chances created, a few more goals, players who would like to score. Obviously, Wood's the only one who scored. You'd like to say Igor Jesus getting a goal, maybe Ndoye getting an assist, Gibbs-White an assist, and stuff like that. But stuff falls into place, mate. I'm never worried over pre-season.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, just think like they're not bothered. Like, and I think maybe we're not giving away as much as we maybe are working on behind the scenes. I don't know how long this sort of thing takes to work into people's systems and patterns of play and all that sort of thing. But no fullbacks because I know have picked up a knock. Williams is obviously still recovering from his injury from towards the end of last season, or no, from Wales, sorry, wasn't it? So I think that balance upsets you anyway. So I just think there's too many factors that go into it, and people look far too into preseason. I say this every year when we've been doing this podcast. It's just there's no barometer. Like you could literally beat every team and do terribly, or you could lose every game and do brilliant. I
think it was under Chris Hughton, wasn't it? We won like every game and we were flying, and then look how we started that season. So
it's absolutely terribly. Just a bit of news. So from Fabrizio Romano, it seems like Angus Gunn is going to join imminently from Norwich as our backup keeper, 29-year-old Scotland international. I mean, lots of people have been. I mean, in our group, it was a bit like kind of, oh, God, he's rubbish. But do you know what? Miguel's leaving. He's homegrown. Angus Gunn, it fills a spot. He's going to play, 3 games this season if he's lucky? You'd say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, mate. For me, it's just box ticked. Like, it sounds awful. No fan's going to be buzzing, and I'm sure there's not going to be a rush to go and buy the goalie shirt and get 13 Gun on the back or whatever number he's going to wear. But like you said, he ticks boxes. He's homegrown. He's relatively experienced, played quite a few games for quite a few teams, played in the Premier League, played in the Championship. For me, it's a no-brainer. It's literally a no-brainer. It was either him or Caldala. It was going to be a goalkeeper of that ilk. It was, and like you said, he's probably going to play 3 games. He'll play. If it was last season, he'd have played Ipswich at home, Exeter away, and who was the other one? Luton at home. Just them kind of games, just in the FA Cups, the Carabao, just to give Sells a little bit of a breather, because like I say, Sells has got the added games this season. But yeah, mate, no brainer for me, no brainer.
Yeah, the other one that's been pretty heavily linked, and it's been on and off, I'd say, is Jackson. I'm gonna have a go. Chat Chewer, I think is how you would say it. Chat GPT, as I'm going to call him. Looks like a handy player. 23, going to turn 24 in September. Cameroonian, which doesn't help because he's going to go to AFCON if we do sign him. And the rumour is it's going to be 12 million euros, but can play on either side, right back or left back. I mean, you've looked at him a little bit more than I have, but it seems like the report as well is that he nullified Ndoye in a game for Hellas Verona in the Italian league against Bologna. So seems like he looks rapid. He's like you compared him to Pervis Estepinian, didn't you?
That was Reese, my brother.
Was that your brother?
Yeah. But like you said, I've done a little bit of research on him. Like I'm in the school holidays, mate, and I've got a lot of time on my hands. So yeah, I've just literally watched his highlights from last season. So he looks very of the Aina ilk. He's leggy, pacey, tenacious, probably a bit more tenacious than Ola. But yeah, he looks decent, mate. He covers both sides. But like you said, the one downside is he buggers off to AFCON as well, which will then leave us with one fullback currently, unless we do sign a proper left-footed left back, which I'm hoping we do. But yeah, mate, he looks quality. He looks really good, and like you said, I think it was it you who said he's got like 3 goals and a handful of assists as well from right back for a mid-table Serie A team. That's some going, to be fair. But yeah, he looks very quick, athletic, which sometimes I do think if Arna's not there, we do lack. So it's a great option to have. Gives us a different option as well. Like obviously because we all love Aina to bits, but he is in the red zone a lot of the time, and he like on FIFA his bar's low, mate, permanently, like after 60 minutes in every game. So it does give us that option of fresh legs, bit of pace, bit of aggression. So yeah, mate, I'm all for that. I think we were linked with him and Maffio, weren't we? And I was always in the camp of Chachua, I'm going to call him just for now because I'm going to butcher it, but I'm not even going to try and pronounce it properly. But I was always in his camp. Obviously, like I said, the one downside is AFCON, but you can't not buy a player who's 23 years old, comes at a decent price because we lose him for 1 month in every other season. We can't put that away. So,
I think having him, you don't lose then that what Alaina gives you in terms of being on the break because he can carry the ball pretty well. Like I think I looked at his FBref and it seemed his progressive carries are like very, very high for a player who, like you say, is playing mid-table Serie A sort of team in Verona are not really challenging or doing anything much to be fair. So I think that's good. It also then helps us because I know in situations when we've had our backs against the walls, sometimes just booming it is not enough. You need someone that can carry the ball, and having him gives us more options, especially if you want to change into different formations and what have you, and covers both sides, like we said. So no, that's good. I mean, the other thing is we have got Eric da Silva Moreira. Does he play a little bit more? He appeared against Birmingham. I know we've had a little bit of our doubts. He's about whether his experience, because he's got the physique there. He looks like a big lad, and he can go and do that. Obviously got Jimmy Sinclair as well, who seems to have been really impressive in pre-season. But again, 18-year-old kid, are you going to rely on an 18-year-old kid for a month in the Premier League? At a key position for us, really, because Aina was so good in terms of 1v1 duels and interceptions. He was an interception monster last season. So can you do that? And for me at the moment, I wouldn't feel 100% confident in saying yes to any of those two options. Personally, I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, I'm on the fence with Eric. He needs to go on loan. He needs to play. I'd say, genuinely, it could be the make or breaking of him. If we loan him to a championship team, doesn't matter who, just a mid-table championship team where you can say, go and get 40 plus games under your belt, try and stay injury free, try and get some men's football. I think you're doing the world of good. Whereas I don't know, with Jimmy Sinclair, I've watched all the pre-season games, and for me, he's ready. He looks better than Eric Silva Moreira for me. He looks, not necessarily, I'm not saying he's going to come and he's going to take Arna's shirt, but I feel like if we were to protect him properly, and like you said, we need him 2-3 games, not necessarily in the Premier League, but in the Cups, and to bleed him in that way, we'd have to go to a back five, I think, and protect him properly. I think shoving him into a back four would be not necessarily suicide because he looks like he can handle himself, but it would put an added pressure on him. I feel like if you chucked him in a back five, I don't know, for a game in Europe or against one of the lesser teams in Europe, or like you said, the FA Cup, Carabao, or even in a Premier League game, if it's in a back five, from what I've seen, he looks like he can handle himself. Ideally, you wouldn't want to, but if that's what it came to, just to keep Nico over on the left-hand side, and like I say, if we don't sign another fullback, then yeah, I think Jimmy Sinclair's the one, mate. He's been really impressive. And to be honest, I just want to get excited about a youngster. It feels like such a long time since we've had a lad come through. I don't know. I can't even remember off the top of my head who the last one was.
Zach Abbott.
Zach Abbott. No, Zach Abbott's a bit different because he's a centre half and he's not exactly exciting, is he? He's a good footballer, don't get me wrong. And I do like Zach Abbott and I do want to see him play a bit more this season. But whereas Sinclair's got that wow about him, where he's got the pace and he wants to bomb forward, get crosses in. So yeah, I want to see. I do want to see them two, especially them two, coming in and potentially playing a few more games this season. And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes, mate. You're never going to know unless you shove them in. You're never going to know. And
yeah,
Forest, like I said, we've got this thing in the minute where we've got a great academy. They won that trophy last year, but then quite a lot of that team has already moved on to conference teams or League One, League Two, or so. I'd like to see us try and bleed a couple in, and obviously it looks like Dale Taylor's the next who's going to be leaving to either Blackpool or Plymouth. I'm not sure which one it is, but yeah, I'd like to see Sinclair and Abbott definitely stick around and like I say, get minutes. But for Moreira, I think it's a loan, mate. I think that'll do him the world of good.
Yeah, it'd be Brennan that was the last one that come through, and
Yeah.
like you say, when you get a good loan, it kind of just makes or breaks you. Like him, and I mean, weirdly, Morgan Rogers obviously both had loans at Lincoln together, and they both shone, and then look where their careers have gone because of a good loan spell. Do you know what I mean? They've just gone up and up and up. So no, I think you're completely right. Get a good loan. Sometimes certain players don't suit that sort of thing and stay with the system, but some I think really thrive off it. I'm really looking forward to actually seeing what Tyler Binden's going to be like at Sheffield United, for example, because he seems quite an exciting centre half of kind of a Murillo type of taking players on and what have you. Douglas Luiz, Mason, looks like someone that's been heavily linked. I know it seems like the fee of salary and everything seems a bit weird because of how much he was on before. Like, I mean, €2.5 million a year would seem a bit too cheap for someone of his ilk. Of say he went for 50 million to Juventus, but it looks like we're trying to get like a loan initially with then an obligation if you meet certain criteria. How excited would you be for him to join us?
That's the one for me, mate. That's the one that elevates us, takes us to the next level. That's the one who we've been almost screaming out for. Like, I know on this pod we're big fans of Sangare, and I'm one of them, but I feel like Douglas Luiz would take us to the next level, whether that's sitting deeper or as the eight who's box to box. I think he's a brilliant player, mate. And like I said earlier, as a set piece taker, when he was at Villa, he was a brilliant player. He was a brilliant player for Villa, and I've got quite a few friends who like Aston Villa. Obviously, my brother's one of his good friends, who we've spoke to a few times, is a big Villa fan. He loves him, and he would be absolutely gutted for him to come to us, because I think they'd take him back in a heartbeat. But yeah, mate, honestly, he's the one out of all the links we've had. If we could get that one over the line, I'd be absolutely over the moon, mate. I think he's a brilliant player, and he also gives us that chance to adapt into a different way of playing, because I think he's a ball player, isn't he? He's brilliant on the ball, so he's a progressor of the ball in terms of passing instead of driving with the ball, a bit like Anderson. So yeah, mate, he's the one. I think he'd be class. He would elevate us and take us to that next level. That's a signing that I think you can look at and you can say we've made that because we're in Europe, if that makes sense. You know, like last season we signed a couple of players and you thought, yeah, they're decent. They'll come in handy. But this is like almost like a statement sign of like, yeah, he's a brilliant player, and that's a signing you make when you're a European team. So yeah, for me, that's the one, mate.
I think what I like about the prospects of Douglas Luiz is he can come in and he'll score goals from central midfield, and we need that more. We need that a lot more from Elliot Anderson this season. I mean, I think he'll be putting that pressure on himself anyway, because we expect a little bit more from him anyway. But I think you're right. It allows you different systems and different formations, and hopefully then allows us to become a bit more possession based. He could I think Douglas Luiz has got that potential to be what Ruben Neves was for Nuno at Wolves. Would you agree with that at all?
Yeah, 100%. Nuno seems to love having one of them midfielders, doesn't he? And he does fit that kind of profile, doesn't he? But yeah, like you said, with different systems, like we love Gibbs-White, but there's going to be times where he needs a rest, or he's been prone to a red card, or getting banned for whatever reason, whether that's accumulation of yellows or like so a red. So if you can go into a 4-3-3 with Sangare, Anderson, and Luiz, you're not going far wrong, are you? That's on paper, that's a brilliant three. But yeah, it does give you that option. He can play in a 2, he could play in a 3, he could probably sit on his own as well with 2 midfielders further advanced. So yeah, he's like I said earlier, mate. He's the one for me, and I'd be absolutely over the moon.
Yeah, before we move on to what, like, we're going to talk about systems and formations and have a bit of a nerd chat on here. I mean, I'm not quite in an advancement of where I can move players about, unfortunately, but I just wanted to give a bit of a chat on James McAtee, because we obviously had a bid rejected for him for 25 million. How far would you be willing to go for him with the year left that he's got on his contract, and also City wanting to have a buyback involved? Because they seem to want to do that quite a lot. For me personally, I would be disappointed if we spent over 30 million on him and included a buyback personally.
Yeah, mate. It's like a glorified loan, isn't it? A buyback. Sorry. Yeah, it's not the one for me. McAtee's a brilliant player. I'd like you said, I'd say 30 million max, just because of his contract situation. with no buyback. But anything else, I think we're clever enough to move away from that. City, I get it because they don't want to get Cole Palmered again. They don't do that. I think that's why they are dead.
Well, keep them in playing then.
But yeah, exactly. Stop stockpiling your players and give them minutes, Pep. Stop trying to turn them all into robots and get them to play Pep ball. Just let them play. But yeah, for me, McAtee would be brilliant. It'd be a great sign, playing three positions or so. He's a great player. I've always been a fan of his from when he went on loan to Sheffield United. He was the first proper time I got to see him play, and I thought, yeah, there's a player in there. So yeah, I'd be more than happy for him to come. I think he would add us great depth, great options. Again, he gives us another style of play if you play him off the right, obviously because he doesn't have that pace, but he's more of a to feet and getting the ball in pockets kind of player. But yeah, like we touched on, 30 million max for me, mate, with no buyback, and then I'd like to think that would get the deal done, but I don't know with City. They seem to be playing hardball, don't they? So
yeah, I mean that's how they've done good business and kept maybe a tiny bit of a flow. It's funny because all this stuff that's going off with us and Palace and what have you, their thing has seemed to just kind of drifted out of sight. It seems, and like no, I feel like it's just getting forgotten about, which is really annoying at the moment. So they need to get some sort of punishment still. I mean, everyone calls us cheats, but let's look at some formations and chat about this. So this is the 4-2-3-1. Pardon me, I didn't name every single one. Line up 1, 2, and 3 because that's how many I've got. And don't take everything as gospel either. Just to let you know, pre-warn you if anyone's watching. So this is the 4-2-3-1 which we played largely last season with Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Williams, and Sells in goal. Obviously, Sangare, Anderson, and then what would be this season now would be Doy, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, and Chris Wood. Would you say this is our strongest lineup, or are you inclined to change anyone? I know we've had a bit of a chat in the WhatsApp about Igor Jesus potentially coming in for Wood if he's been impressive in training, but personally, I don't see how you drop a 20-goal striker at the start of the season.
Yeah, but on paper, it's our best team. I'd say it's literally just Doy coming in for Elanga. That's all it is. But yeah, that if we started against Brentford like that, I'd be happy, mate. Like you said, Igor Jesus for me against Birmingham was very, very impressive. His link-up play, his strength, his pressing. He's completely different to Wood in terms of physicality and mobility. Sorry, the way he moves around the pitch. And he was very impressive. And I think he'll be very good for us. I do think he will be very good for us. But like you said, Chris Wood scored 20 goals last season. We can't just, because we've got a new shiny toy, football doesn't work like that. We can't just go, here we go, shove him in. He's good. He's good at holding the ball up. Wood scored 20 goals last season. For me, he has to start. And that's coming from someone who was very, very impressed with Igor Jesus. But we're going to have upwards of 50 games to play this season. Igor Jesus will play. There'll be times where he plays on his own. There'll be times where he plays with Wood. There'll be times where he could potentially play with a new signing, which we've been linked with. Obviously, we haven't been linked with necessarily a name yet, but they've said that we want another forward attacking option. So in terms of that striker role, we could even be Big T, like Big Taiwo has been forgotten about, but he looked pretty sharp when he came on against Birmingham. So yeah, but for me, starting in terms of the Premier League, mate, this is the one. This is the team that I think more than likely we're going to see. I think we'll probably, depending on fitness, we'll probably see this start tonight as well.
Yeah, with Igor, do you see him started in this type of lineup, and then because of what he can do, it almost gets us up the pitch maybe 10, 15 yards to press that a bit higher, because he likes to drift out wide? Then does that give Callum a little bit more space to operate in that position and get Gibbs-White more into the box as well? Because we need more goals from both of them, really. And then we need Doy to obviously contribute as quick as possible to fill that gap that Elanga's left as well. It's quite a key position really this season, I think, striker.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch him against Birmingham. Like I say, because he's so different to Wood. Wood is very whip for the penalty area, not necessarily moving a lot. He's good at holding the ball up, but he's a one-touch finisher. He's a poacher. That's Wood's game. But Igor Jesus, when he was dropping into the pockets, like he was sometimes receiving the ball deeper than Anderson and Sangare, I was like, well, this is new. But as long as we've got players clever enough to go and fill that void, there was Doy who did it a couple of times, and there was one time where the ball got pinged into him and he rolled his man really well, and he was central, and it was Julian Bennett who was on commentary, and he said, oh, well done, Jesus there. He did really well. And I was thinking that Jesus was next to the centre half, mate, when that was going on. He started the move effectively. So yeah, it gives us a completely different option, and it almost, like you said, puts a bit more pressure almost on Gibbs-White to say, go on, then you go and be that man who's going to go get in the box and get us a goal. It's a completely different way of playing, and to be honest, mate, it really excites me. It really does. It excites me more than, obviously, I know last season we were counter-attacking, and it was exciting to watch when we did counter-attack, but I think just gives us a whole new dynamic. When you've got a striker dropping into pockets and centre-halves all of a sudden don't have anyone to mark, and they're looking around thinking, I don't know what to do here. Like, it's a completely different game, innit, than having Wood up against Joe who's feeling you and grabbing, you know where he is. It's a completely different type of game for opposition to play against. So, but yeah, that only works, like I said, if Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi and Doy, I'm just going to call them double Doy at this point. If them two,
double Doy, yeah.
Doy, if them three are clever enough and realise that we do need a vocal point, and yeah, then mate, 100%, it could be the one. But yeah, it's exciting times, mate. And like you said, strikers, they win games. They're the hardest position to play, in my opinion, because they're the ones who put the ball in the net. They've got the hardest job in football, which is scoring. So they're very important, always will be. And by the looks of things, mate, at the moment we've got 2 very good ones, and hopefully if Taiwo can get back fully fit, we'll have 3 very good ones. So, like, if we don't sign another striker at this moment in time, I'm relatively pleased.
Yeah, they all offer like different vocations as well.
Yeah.
Like Wood, obviously between the posts, Igor a bit more flexible in terms of what his ability is. And then obviously you got the bruiser in T, who's just gonna like throw you about and ragdoll you about when especially when he's on his game. And I thought when he come on, I saw the highlights very briefly. He looked quick as well.
He's looking a lot sharper, mate. Yeah, I think credit to him as well, because that injury, and obviously he went into his coma, obviously, and he had an op and stuff. So credit to him, mate. And honestly, if he does leave, which it's one of them, if he does, that's football. He'll go with everyone's best wishes, won't he? He's been a great buy. He was our first buy, wasn't he, in the Premier League? So I think everyone's quick to fully disregard T because he hasn't been that great and he's had a lot of injuries. Obviously, he kept us up single-handedly, basically, in that season. So I think he's a well-respected member of the squad by all accounts, and from me especially, I've got a lot of respect for T, and I do hope he comes good, mate. But it's one of them in football; it's cutthroat business. I can't necessarily see it at this moment, but he has, fair play to him. He's looked really sharp.
Yeah, the one thing that I did like about from the Birmingham game is when I think Morato played the ball into Jesus and he literally just flicked it straight away into Gibbs-White's path, and that's where, for me, I'm not saying it because I did say it in the chat at the time because he's on 120 grand or whatever he's going to be on now, 150 grand or whatever. I don't know what the number is. I'd like him to be shooting and hitting the target there and making the goalkeeper work. I know he played the pass instead, but he does that a lot. Like, he will play the pass when really I think he should have shot. If he gets the pass right and Doy or Callum score, great. But like at the same time, I'm wanting my number 10 to shoot from there. James Maddison's shooting from there. Kulusevski's shooting from there. Erdegaard's shooting from there. I'm trying to name Phil Foden. They're shooting, aren't they? Like, that's what I want from Gibbs-White more this season. I want him to pull the trigger because I know he's a bit soggy with his shooting, but if he can pass the ball 30, 40 yards, he should be able to shoot from 20. That's my logic anyway.
Yeah, in terms of your original point with the link-up play, that's what Igor Jesus brought us on that day. He was brilliant at that. The little flicks, he opened up that whole move just by being a bit clever. If they can get some sort of understanding, Gibbs-White and Jesus, and the wingers, if they can get that understanding, like I say, it's a win-win for us. But yeah, in terms of Gibbs-White, it's the one thing he's lacking in it, really. Obviously, I'm not necessarily his biggest critic. I just expect and want more from him. But in terms of his shooting, it needs to improve. It does need to improve. I think when he went away with England, they do that shooting drill and they do all the behind-the-scenes stuff. He was way off it. And I think he knows that, and that is why he plays that extra pass sometimes. Like, that is probably why he did pass on the day. But he's got to start shooting. He can do it. He scored goals from outside the area. The two that spring to mind are obviously his first goal for us at home. Was it against Brentford? Yeah. Brentford, and then the Man U one, the finish against Onana. But that's not necessarily shooting. They're instep. They're firm passes into the corner. So if that's what he's got to do, that's what he's got to start doing. And we do need to see that. That's his next step of his game for me. But yeah, mate, honestly, if Igor Jesus and Gibbs-White and, like I said, the other attackers can get that understanding, it's going to be very good for us.
Yeah, definitely. Just to change it up a little bit, this is another option, and Igor Jesus hasn't got a picture, so I've filled him in with Gabriel Jesus, as you do, and obviously filling in with potential signings of Douglas Luiz, who could play as an 8 with Anderson and Sangare sitting. Obviously, you can fill these people in with Dominguez. Obviously, I know people are going to be clamouring for Yates at some point this season. Yates will definitely have his role in the squad this season. As we said, we're going to play 50, 60 games. He's going to be involved in some capacity. I think more as a closer than a starter, personally, if Douglas Luiz is in this team and we get him over the line. I like this formation as well because it gives us options. Obviously, Gibbs-White can even fill in as one of the 8s as well. Like, I think this gives us way more control in games this coming season if we play this as well. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, I feel like this. To be fair, this formation, this kind of personnel was in everyone's thinking when we thought that Gibbs-White was going, and everyone seemed to be on board with it. So we can't, just because Gibbs-White stayed, can't all of a sudden be against it. I do think it would be a great option. Like you said, it gives us a lot of control in that midfield. I think this could be one just to give Gibbs-White a rest, because he's human at the end of the day as well. He played a lot of football last season. It would be nice to be able to give you star players rest from time to time. And even if that's in Europe, and it could be a second leg, it could be against a lesser team, and you could give the likes of Jair some minutes against the lesser teams. Like I said, drop Milenkovic or give him a rest. And it's a squad game, and I think people seem to forget that, especially online. Like, and I know I keep referring to that, but that's the only thing I can go off with fans because I don't know every single Forest fan. But when I've seen people saying, "Oh, when we sign Douglas Luiz, it's the end of Sangare," or if we sign Douglas Luiz, Yates needs to go. Like, it's a squad game. Douglas Luiz can't fill 2 people's roles at once. We're going to need these players. Like, all of a sudden, players who were on the bench last season who haven't left become very important because they're going to be needed in games. They are. But yeah, mate, this 4-3-3, I think it'll be probably used more away from home. If this is what Nuno would go for, I think it's something we'd use away from home just to block passing lanes and to block spaces away from home in midfield. But it ain't half bad, is it? Looking at them 3 in there, it's something to be excited for if you're a fan. And obviously, if we do get Douglas Luiz over the line, it's something that can excite fans.
I think with this formation as well, what you can do is, I've not done it or anything, but Sangare could almost drop in as a third centre half and you push your wing backs really far up, and then obviously if you want Dominguez in there as a pressing demon and you get higher up the pitch in that sense, especially if you're playing Igor up there because he seems like a good presser, and I know Doy is and Callum can be, that gets you up the pitch. It forces teams into areas they don't really want to be, and hopefully then you turn over the ball really high up the pitch and you punish sides, especially when you've got teams that want to play out from the back a lot, which is majority of the league, weirdly. So yeah, I think this offers up a lot of flexibility in my opinion, and I'm very up for this. I'm probably more up for this than the 4-2-3-1 personally. I don't know why. I don't know if it just because I feel like it might offer us a little bit more control as such. Whereas like 4-2-3-1, I feel like is more of a counter attack for us personally. It is, I think, and Sangare is going to be key this season. I think pre-season and the end of last season has shown how good he can be. I think people are starting to really see the fruit now ripen in this. But the last formation I want to just talk about, I've put Mateus Cunha at right centre half because I ain't got a picture either, and I don't have time to Photoshop him in. So a 3-4-3, which could potentially be something with Jack Cunha, Milenkovic, Murillo at the back, Chatua if he comes in at right wing back, Williams on the other side, Dominguez, Anderson, and then if we were, I mean, we've not talked about Adama. I'm sure we've talked about on previous podcasts, but him and McAtee and Taiwo, I mean, that could be fun.
Yeah, mate.
I don't imagine Adama and Awunya up front instead.
You wouldn't want to be in that back 4 or 5 who was against
Get them
him,
oiled up.
Yeah, mate. That's an interesting team, to be fair. Obviously, you've still got three players in there that you'd like to look to get over the line. But yeah, it's that actually fills me with quite a lot of joy looking at that, because if you do get your McAtee, your Adama, your Douglas Luiz, and your Chichua, that's a strong squad then you're looking at, because like you said, you're putting Dominguez in there. Dominguez wasn't in the previous 2 teams, and you're looking at it and you go, that team there is without your £35 million winger, Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs-White, and your 2 strikers, your first choice strikers, and it still looks fairly strong. So, and you've still not put in Morato, Yates. Yeah, so I think that's looks promising, mate. Like
even like Abbott or like you say, Yatesy in there as well. I mean, it is strong. It looks better than your bench looks, almost way better as well. And then you kind
100%.
of say, right, we're an established team. We've got a squad. We're an established squad now, and we start to push. I mean, this is where I think this conversation kind of goes, because if we do get them targets over the line, Mason, I mean, can you see a reason why we have a bad league campaign with playing in Europe? Because I can't. I still feel like then you're on for a top 10 finish, really, with that squad on paper. I know football's not played on it, but I feel like it gives us a very good chance of still pushing again for a spot again.
Yeah, 100%. If you get them 3 or 4, like we've just touched on in them teams, if you get them over the line and then maybe a couple more, maybe a left-sided fullback or like whatever we've just said, your squad's very, very strong. It is strong. I do think naturally, don't shoot me or think I'm being negative. I do think naturally there might be a tad like bit of a drop off, but that comes with Europe. That's not me necessarily saying we're going to be worse. It comes with Europe. It comes with getting used to playing them games. But that's what you have your squad for. That's what you have your likes of Yates and your other players like that, your Dominguez's and your rotation options up front. That's why you have them players in there. They're gonna be needed at some point. But I think if we have a good European run and we come top 10 again, there won't be one Forest fan. I'd like to think there won't be a Forest fan that'd be upset with that, because that is really cementing us up in that upper echelons of the table. Then I think, and then it would be proved to not been a fluke season. But yeah, with them players coming in, that would give us a good chance. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Is there a player in our squad that you think that has got a bit of extra pressure on him this season? That you feel like they've got to deliver now? I mean, Morgan's maybe an obvious one because of the wage hike, but is there anyone in particular where you go, right, we need a bit more from you?
Yeah, in terms of this is not a dig, because I do like him, but in terms of numbers, Hudson-Odoi needs to up his numbers. But it's difficult for him because he's almost more 9 times out of 10 he's involved with the move. He's the assist before the assist. He's like the pre-assist, isn't he? Because he's such a clever footballer. He knows when to speed the game up. He knows when to drop inside and get involved. He knows when to run at his man. But I think it's almost like his downfall at the same time, because he's the one who's never usually in that position to get the assist or to get the shot off, unless it's a tuck in and a whip to the far post, which is his trademark. But yeah, I think especially now Elanga's gone, and Elanga's numbers were very good last year, I do think Hudson-Odoi's numbers do need to improve. So I'd say definitely, yeah, his pressure's probably building up on him as well. And if he has a poor season and he doesn't sign a new deal with us, will there be anyone really who's better than us who would want to take a chance on him? I'd probably say no, I probably would say no. So in terms of either if he wants to play for a new contract, which I'm sure we've had talks with him, and it's been reported that we have, or if he wants to try and get a move upwards, he's going to have to perform and he's going to have to up his numbers. So for me, yeah, Hudson-Odoi, and that's, like I said, that's not me digging him out, because I really like Hudson-Odoi, and for me, he's a number 1 starter on that left-hand side.
What do you make of this contract situation he's got? Like, do you think he needs to sign before the end of the window, primarily because if if he doesn't, then we can't sell him. We can't really sell him because January he can start talking to clubs, can't he? So like you're gonna lose him then for free. Like from our point of view, it's business at the end of the day. I'd like to think so. I mean, I thought when he got the number 7 and then Ola signed, and then I thought when Gibbs-White signed, I was like, well, he's surely going to sign because they're probably his 2 closest friends, Ola being like his dad, basically. I mean, he's not even that much older than him, but, you know, I just feel like we've done a lot for him. I know he's done the work himself as well, but we took that chance on him essentially when no one else really was that keen on him. Fulham were like flirting, but not really wanting him, and we got him. And then he's had 2 seasons where he's played a lot of football again and shown to everyone that his body's pretty good. I just feel like he might owe us at least to protect his value a little bit.
Yeah, it's a difficult one with Hudson-Odoi, like I say, because it is business at the end of the day. But I think he does need to sign 100%, obviously, because you don't want him to go on a free. You don't want to lose a player that you could potentially get 25, 30 mil for free. You don't want to do that because that is poor business. But if he's willing, if it's up to him at the end of the day. If he wants to run his contract down, he'll run his contract down. Like if he wants to move, but if he wants to sign, these things do take time. And obviously, Einer's deal was going on for ages. Like there was talks nearly a year before that he was going to sign a new deal, and it didn't get done till a few months ago or whenever it was last month. Yeah. So yeah, they do take time. You've got to dot the I's and cross the T's, haven't you? So I do think he will. I do think he will, especially like you just said. Einer signed a new one. Gibbs-White signed it. Even if it's just another additional year on top and it sorts him for this season, next season, and then we say, listen, that summer, then you can look at potentially leaving. It's one of them because it is business. And I think as fans, we sometimes get wrapped up and tied up in the fact that we love the club that much. We've got to remember that these players don't love the club as much as we do. We live and breathe it. They don't get me wrong, they do like the club, and obviously Hudson-Odoi will be appreciative of the fact that we were the one who took a chance on him and we got him playing and we got him his name back almost. But they're not like us. There's more to life than Forest for these players, whereas for us, Forest is the do or die, isn't it, really? And I think fans do get caught up in that, and they think that players should have the same amount of loyalty as we do, and it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. Especially with him. Yeah, let's kill him if he wants to leave. But no, honestly, it's one of them, isn't it? But yeah, I do think eventually, mate, he will shine. I do think he will. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. We move on. We try and replace him properly. And I trust our recruitment because it's been fairly solid so far. And obviously, the past couple of seasons, we've got it right more times than we have wrong, haven't we? So.
Yeah. And at least now Nico Williams is a number 3 and a winger is number 7.
I ain't got to worry about our fullback wearing number 7 anymore, which is a massive delight to me, honestly. It makes me so happy, you don't understand.
It helps your OCD, does it?
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, if there's nothing else that you'd like to talk about, mate, I think we'll end it here. And if people have enjoyed it, we'd like you to like and subscribe. That would be lovely. And we've got membership. You can join for 99p on YouTube. It's £1 on Patreon. As that's as little as it is. There's other options if you want to support the pod any further to help us with equipment, keeping the pod going, keeping it running, because we do this off our own back. So it goes a long way, and we really appreciate any support we can get. So do consider membership. We'll be getting stuff on there. We've got a guest lined up for September as well, which will be a good one, I think. I won't reveal too much, but yeah, until next time, we'll be talking with Tom Colo Moss from the Daily Mail. We'll see you next time. Come on, you Reds.